Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, meet me again in the Leksam challenge on July. In the Leksam challenge July is storytelling, and this is my story entitled Amora Francis. Okay, let's begin. Amora Francis, an inspiration story for everyone. In a peaceful and prosperous kingdom, the king and queen who ruled and led their people wisely had not yet been blessed with a perfect child to continue the throne. Everyone in the palace was very hopeful, always praying and waiting with the great anticipation. Finally, their prayers were answered when a beautiful and sweet daughter was born, named Francis Amora. Since she was a baby, Amora had already brought joy to the palace, and her presence added warmth to the entire royal family. Francis Amora grew into the beautiful child, loved by everyone who, however, as she grew older, Amora began to experience health issues. The king and queen, who deeply loved their daughter, tried everything they could to protect her. Francis Amora grew into a beautiful child loved by everyone. However, as he grew older, Amora began to experience health issues. The king and queen, who deeply loved their daughter, tried everything they could to protect her. But the royal session could not find a cure for Amora's mysterious illness. Despite her fragile condition, Amora was a kind-hearted and intelligent girl. She loved reading books, especially fairy tales and heroic stories. Amora often imagined herself as a brave princess who could help her people and bring happiness to the kingdom. Time passed, and Francis Amora's illness worsened. The king and queen were devastated, but Amora never lost her smile. One day, a wise old woman came to the palace and offered help. She said that deep in the forest there was a magical flower that could cure Amora. However, to obtain it, Amora herself had to find the flower. Although he stand and worried, the king and queen eventually agreed, believing in their daughter cured. With the help of a magical compass given by the old woman, Amora set off on her journey. Along the way, Amora encountered many challenges. She had to cross rivers, climb mountains, and face various wild animals. But with her courage and kindness, Amora always found a way out of every problem. After a long and trying journey, Amora finally found the magical flower. She picked it and immediately felt her body become stronger. With a great joy, she returned to the palace. Her parents were overwhelmed with happiness to see their daughter healthy again. Since then, Amora became a symbol of courage and hope in the kingdom. Her story inspired many people to be brave, never give up, and always help others. And now the story of Princess Amora lives on, not just a tale from a distant kingdom, but a reminder that every hardship can be overcome with courage, kindness, and hope. Upon arriving in the pine forest, Amora felt a fresh morning air, but it was cold enough to chill her to the bone. Her body shivered, and she started running like she took the forest to shake off the cold. As she ran heavily, it felt as if she had been freed from prison. "Yeah, I'm so happy," she muttered to herself, but her joy didn't last long because she was suddenly startled by a snake slithering fast. It was nearly as thick as her arm. Afraid and frozen, Amora stopped and stared. She kept watching the snake to see where it would go, where it would go, where it would go. Likely, the large snake didn't notice Amora maybe. Once it felt safe again, Amora continued walking deeper into the forest. She began to feel a little calmer until she reached a beautiful lake. Just as the morning sun began to shine warmly on her gracefully cold body, Amora looked around and saw the vast lake, shady trees with lush leaves, colorful flowers, clear water filled with fish of many colors. All added to the beautiful of scene. She was mesmerized by the view. Just then her stomach growled, and when she looked at her watch, it's already 8 a.m. Time to breakfast. Amora scanned the lush trees around her to see if there was anything she could eat. Aha! Amora saw a large apple tree full and of red fruit. She picked 5 apples and ate them with a great delight, feeling full. Amora resumed her journey. Along the way, she encountered many small and large rocks, until she decided to rest on a large boulder near the lake. Amora imagined how she would cross the lake. It was very wide, and there was a small island visible in the middle. On it stood a majestic golden tree. She remembered what the wise old woman had said, that the magical flower would be upon a golden tree in the middle of the lake. Amora didn't know how to get there, so she shook for help while weeping. Suddenly, a small boat appeared from behind the rocks. Amora saw a young man rowing toward her. Once the boat reaches the shore, the young man smiled and offered to help. Without hesitation, Amora climbed into the boat, and they began their journey to the golden tree. Along the way, Amora asked the young man about himself, but he only smiled without saying a word. Once they arrived in the golden tree, Amora climbed down and looked around. She saw the magical flower blooming at the very top. Amora began to climb despite her illness and fear. After much struggle and near falls, She finally reached the flower. She did it. She picked the flower carefully, climbed back down. Once she touched the ground, and the young man clapped and smiled warmly. He then guided her back to the path. Once they returned to the shore, Amora turned to thank the young man, but he had vanished. She was puzzled, and the mysterious young man had disappeared without a trace. Amora realized he had been a guardian and sent to help her on her journey. She bowed her head respectfully and whispered, "Thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving me." The young man seemed to recognize Mora and slowly stepped out of his cell to approach her. And soon he removed his hat and extended his hand toward Mora. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Anthony, a fisherman from the lake. You're very lucky, Francis, to have escaped the giant crocodile attack. The crocodile is like a guardian. It would have eaten you because it already had been fed with large fish 2 days ago. I often keep watch over the creature," said Anthony. So now that all this has happened, what is your purpose here, Francis? Anthony asked gently. "I just want to take a walk," Amora replied softly. "I strongly desire freedom," she added, holding back a tear. Anthony then replied, "Noble Francis, outside the palace there are many young women your age who dream of positions you hold. To live in the palace with luxurious and facilities under the care of a kind and wise king and queen who truly love their people. And in return, the people love their rules. So the princess should be grateful and enjoy what she already has. If something feels burdensome, it should be discussed respectfully with the king and queen, not by running away from the palace." Anthony continued, hearing those words. Amora teared up. "You're right. If I truly love my people, I should return." You're right. If I truly love my people, I should return now. Anthony smiled, then said, "Come, I'll take you back to the palace." The king and queen have been worried about the princess' desperation. They didn't know where she had gone. Now they were overjoyed to hear she would be returning. In short, Amora and Anthony returned safely to the palace. All the citizens were thrilled at the news of the princess' return. Amora hugged her father and her mother, the king and queen. With a tearful voice, she apologized and begged for forgiveness. Everyone in the palace cried tears of joy. Royal announcement and declared that there would be a grand celebration that evening in the honor of Francis' return. Antony humbly accepted from that day forward. Amora no longer felt alone, and she promised to serve her people with a sanctuary. The king even announced that Antony would be appointed as Amora's personal assistant. That night, everyone gathered in the palace garden, citizens and the royal family. It was truly a beautiful night for Amora. The king publicly thanked Antony and graciously invited him to live in the palace as a royal helper for his kindness in helping Amora. Everyone applauds in the celebration. Okay, that's my story. See you next. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.